Welcome to the Low Country Report. I'm Allie McNair. Coming up, over the past 20 years, this organization has picked up and distributed 20 million pounds of food to help feed those in need. We'll learn about Second Helpings from its executive director, Peggy Warneke. Also ahead, an alternate route to get to the RBC Heritage. Frank Babel has the scoop on biking to and from next week's PGA event. But first, these headlines. The Beaufort County Sheriff's Office will be getting a new base of operations for its deputies who patrol the southern part of the county. On Tuesday, the Hilton Head Island Town Council voted to buy the Lifespan building at 58 Shelter Cove Lane for $2.2 million. That building will serve as the Sheriff's Office Southern Enforcement Branch. In the past, Sheriff P.J. Tanner has said that his department was out of room at its current location at 7 Lagoon Road and that there was no parking at that location. Hilton Head Island Town Manager Steve Riley says the town will issue a bond to pay for the building, which currently houses several tenants. Plans are that the Sheriff's Office will be the primary tenant, and as current tenants' leases expire, the town will look at other uses for the space. The Hardeeville Election Commission will put one name back on the ballot for City Council that it had previously removed. On Tuesday, 14th Circuit Judge Carmen Mullen ruled that the commission had erred in removing Scott Reddy's name from the ballot. The commission had done so because Reddy mistakenly filed as an elected official rather than as a candidate. In court, the commission had argued that Reddy's filing was incorrect, and that disqualified him from being on the ballot. The judge ruled that the law requires candidates to file proper paperwork on time, but does not exclude candidates from ballots due to clerical errors. Hilton Head firefighters were kept busy on Tuesday morning and throughout the afternoon, getting a brush fire on Sunset Island under control. Shortly after 4 in the morning, crews arrived at the scene of the Marsh Island, located in a tributary of Old House Creek. Firefighters were able to access the island by using a 955-foot walkway that drew complaints from neighbors when the island's owner, Jeff Myers, received a permit to build it. No one lives at that island. Well, if all goes according to plans, the city of Beaufort will soon be the new owners of the commercial park near US 21. During a special meeting Tuesday night, City Council voted to purchase the 209 acres from South Carolina Bank and Trust. The price tag, $1.8 million. The city has 60 days to finalize the purchase, which includes the completion of environmental studies and arranging financing. Well, there may be fewer mosquitoes to bite you in the near future. That's because Beaufort County Mosquito Control has ramped up its spraying this week due to residents' complaints. Director Greg Hunt said most areas are now reporting issues, the two latest being Defusky Island and Hilton Head Island. But don't put your spray away yet. Hunt says recent rains mean more mosquitoes will be hatching and maturing within 2 weeks of that rain. He also wants to remind people that they can do their own part in the battle against mosquitoes. He reminds you to be sure to remove all standing water from around your home. Well, who would ever think that the place to find out what your local police department is up to would be on Facebook? That's the case when it comes to the Beaufort Police Department. Its Facebook page contains a story about the department assisting the U.S. Marshal's Office in arresting a man wanted by Somerville police for armed robbery and kidnapping. According to authorities, Beaufort Police, along with members of the U.S. Marshal's Southeastern Regional Fugitive Task Force, arrested 19-year-old Jason James. Officials say James is accused of breaking into and robbing a home where children were staying alone. He is also accused of robbing 2 people at gunpoint outside a Somerville restaurant. Well, you might catch a glimpse of Marine Corps jets training over the area during the next 2 weeks. According to a spokesperson with Marine Corps Air Station Beaufort, residents may see an increase in activity north of the Coosaw River to the northern point of Hilton Head Island and from the coast to about 5 miles west of Yemassee. The flights will occur for about 4 hours each day, with the jets flying at about 5,000 to 7,000 feet in altitude. The training will take place this week from Wednesday through Friday and again next week, Wednesday through Friday. A 76-year-old Ladies Island man sustained minor injuries when his ultralight plane came down in the backyard in Dale. According to the Beaufort County Sheriff's Office, Bob Gamble took off from a grass airstrip near Coosaw Plantation and began to experience engine trouble. When the engine stalled, he had to put the plane down in the backyard of a home owned by Abraham Coakley, Coakley said he heard the ultralight smash into his barbed wire fence. He said Gamble appeared to have only superficial injuries when he emerged from the plane. Well, the weather cooperated last Saturday for what some call the world's largest yard sale on Hilton Head Island. The annual event, run this year by Hilton Head High School and the Island Packet, drew hundreds of bargain hunters, with some arriving as early as 5 in the morning to get the best buys. Vendors were charged for the parking spaces where they sold their goods. The proceeds from those collections go to the Hilton Head High School Student Fund. Here's what's happening around the state. An Anderson man has been sentenced to 20 years in prison for beating another man to death with a baseball bat. According to authorities, Andy Roach was sentenced Tuesday after pleading guilty to the murder in the death of Stephen Hughes. Officials say police found the 50-year-old Hughes in an abandoned building back in July of 2010. He had been beaten in the head. Roach was arrested nearby after authorities say he called 911 to report the killing. A tennis player at Winthrop University is accused of assaulting a teammate. According to Winthrop police, 21-year-old Luke Stanek is facing charges of assault and battery after beating fellow player Rich Mead and knocking him unconscious. Authorities say Stanek had given Mead and another player a ride to a parking lot on the Winthrop campus. When Stanek and Mead argued, authorities say Stanek punched Mead in the face several times, knocking him to the ground. Stanek turned himself in. The Winthrop University tennis coach has not said whether Stanek will be suspended from the team. A University of South Carolina researcher who studies autism says there's a need for therapists to work with autistic children. During a speech to students on Wednesday, psychology professor Jane Roberts is expected to outline the work that therapists do with autistic children to help them build social skills, speech, and physical skills. April is National Autism Awareness Month. Well, some of the artifacts from the Titanic will be on display next month in South Carolina. The passenger liner sank on its inaugural voyage after colliding with an iceberg in April of 1912. The South Carolina State Museum will display more than 125 artifacts from the Titanic, including china etched with the White Star Line's logo as part of the exhibition. That exhibition opens on May 5th.
This weather report brought to you by Beaufort Memorial Bluffton Medical Services, offering Beaufort Memorial's quality care close to home.
On Thursday, it will be mostly cloudy with a chance of showers and thunderstorms, mainly in the afternoon and evening, a high of 79, a low of 52. On Friday, mostly cloudy again with a chance of showers and thunderstorms, cooler with a high of 66, a low of 50. Saturday, we'll see sunny skies, a high of 68, a low of 51. And on Sunday, sunshine again, a high of 71, a low of 56. When we come back, 20 million pounds of food to those in need over the past 20 years. Peggy Warnicki, the executive director of Second Helpings, joins me next.
I've never been to bed hungry, and it breaks my heart to think that there's some in the county that are going to bed hungry, and particularly the children.
Just last week, Second Helpings, the nonprofit organization that collects and distributes surplus food to the disadvantaged, celebrated its 20th anniversary. It all began when 12 couples decided to take surplus food and deliver it to agencies serving people in the Low Country. And since that time, Second Helpings has collected and distributed 20 million pounds of food and distributed it to more than 70 nonprofit agencies and churches throughout Beaufort, Jasper, and Hampton counties. Joining me now to talk about the work that Second Helpings does is its executive director, Peggy Warnicki. Peggy, thanks for joining us on the Low Country Report.
Thanks, Allie. It's nice to be here.
And congratulations as well. What work you have done. When you look back at how this organization started to where it is now, how do you feel?
It's just an amazing story to have been part of. It's amazing that they started with their personal station wagons, and we now have 5 refrigerated trucks on the road 6 days each week.
And how about volunteers, Peggy? How many people do you count on to really make sure that food's collected and distributed?
323.
Wow, and it's a commitment to volunteer your time. Are you always looking for more people, or are you pretty well set?
No, we're always looking, particularly this time of the year when some people go to their mountain homes or to where it's going to be cooler. So if people would like to volunteer, please call 689-3689. Leave a message and we'll get back to you and get you to the right person.
How many organizations, Peggy, say to Second Helpings, we have surplus food, come and get it? Is it all grocery stores? Is it different entities?
Mostly caterers. Once in a while we get calls from the resorts. Last week we got one from a big food show and got all the frozen stuff that they had used at the food show. But mostly it is supermarkets, yes.
And do you concentrate, I mean, first of all, it's just wonderful you get the food, but do you concentrate on trying to make sure that it's healthy food?
Yes, we do, and we've come a long way in that category. Used to, mostly what we got was were bakery items, but now we're getting, through connections with the Food Bank of the Low Country in Charleston and Feeding America, we're getting meat and produce, vegetables. It's made a huge difference. Dairy. We get milk and ice cream.
Oh, that's great. Do you ever actually, Peggy, in your position or anyone that volunteers, come into contact with people that you have been able to help? I would think maybe it's a little less likely because you're actually getting the surplus food and delivering it to the different nonprofit organizations. But do you ever get to hear from people what a difference your organization has made?
My drivers do more than I do, Allie, but I was at a site visit waiting on the United Way group to come last year in northern part of the county. And this grandmother came up to me and she said, you know, I'm raising my grandchildren. I literally could not feed them if it weren't for Second Helpings. And the United Way was standing there and it made a huge impact.
I bet it did. And I mean, first of all, raising grandchildren is a challenge in and of itself, but the financial commitment, I mean, sometimes, or not even commitment, the ability,
right,
sometimes just can't be there. So to know you can help and keep children from going hungry is really amazing.
It is amazing.
You celebrated last week. You had a celebration of the organization's 20th anniversary over at Sun City. What was that like?
Oh, it was so much fun, Allie. We had about 250 people there. Balloons, and it was a real celebration. The Garden Club in Sun City did our centerpieces, and Palmetto Electric sent us out a bucket truck, so we lined all 5 of our trucks up, stood all the volunteers in front of the trucks, and sent our photographer up in the bucket. So it ought to be a great picture.
I bet it'll be a great picture. And you know, that really shows you the power of when you get individuals together, that you really can move mountains and make a huge difference. You were able recently to get another truck to help you with the collection of food and distribution. Do you have any kind of wish list right now for the organization to be able to continue doing the good work that it does?
Our trucks last, we try to rotate and buying a new truck every other year. So we're in pretty good shape right now, but next year, yeah, we're going to be looking for funds to buy another truck to replace one of the ones in the aging fleet.
I mean, I can't imagine the amount of miles you put on those vehicles, especially when you're working in multiple counties.
We do. The Hilton Head truck, for instance, makes a run all the way to Hardyville. So it does put a lot of miles on them. In Beaufort, in the northern part of the county, they go from St. Helena all the way out to Yemassee. So it's lots of miles, and it makes long days for our volunteers also.
Sure. Peggy Warnicki, why do you do this?
Because I have a passion for it.
And why is that? What gave you that passion?
When you hear people's stories, and I've never been to bed hungry, and it breaks my heart to think that there's some in the county that are going to bed hungry, and particularly the children. It's a proven fact that they can't learn if they're hungry. And education is a big push.
Well, I know because of you, Peggy Warnicki, and all those people that work with Second Helpings, there are a lot of people that are not going to bed hungry at night. And we want to thank you for your time and say happy anniversary to Second Helpings. And we are truly fortunate to have your organization here. Thank you.
Thanks, Allie, and thank you to my volunteers.
Thanks to them as well. When we come back, biking your way to and from the RBC Heritage, we will get details from Frank Babel. Stay right there.
And we'll have some convenient parking where people can lock up their bikes and go right into the main gate of the tournament.
The RBC Heritage Tournament gets underway next week, and you can drive to the tournament park and get a great shuttle ride to the action. But for those of you who might want to try a different route like biking, we've got details from biking advocate Frank Babel. Frank is the co-chair of the Hilton Head Island Bicycle Advisory Committee, and thanks for coming in, Frank.
Great to be here, Allie.
Well, okay, the tournament this year is being termed as bicycle friendly. What is this all about?
Well, we're pretty excited about it. It's a collaborative effort between the Community Services Association for Sea Pines, between the Heritage Foundation and the Bicycle Advisory Committee. And we had the feeling that there were a lot of potential people who would come to the tournament who would otherwise have to get in cars and park and go through all the hassle, who are nearby in Long Cove and Wexford and so on and so forth. So with this collaboration, we were able to get an agreement between all parties to make it bicycle friendly. And so what that means is that people who are ticket holders or volunteers can come in either of the gates of Sea Pines, show their ticket for that day, and then we'll be guided along a couple of routes into the area really right near the tournament's main gate. And we'll have some convenient parking where people can lock up their bikes and go right into the main gate of the tournament.
It's a great idea, and with all those great bike paths in Sea Pines Plantation, you can't go wrong with that, Frank. You're also going to have some volunteers there to help out,
Yes,
too?
we'll have volunteers to help park and just keep things in order and just get as many bikes as we can, because we think this is going to be very popular. And it'll free up a lot of parking that people would otherwise have to use with their cars and parking spaces and all that. So we expect a pretty good turnout.
Let's talk about tourist season, which if anyone is driving around or biking around Hilton Head Island, they know we are in the thick of it right now. You're doing some work to really educate tourists about biking on Hilton Head Island and staying safe. Talk about that.
Yeah, one of the initiatives from our Biking Advisory Committee is what we call educating our visitors. And as you have seen this week, the pathways are packed. In fact, I talked to one bike shop this morning with 1,500 bikes. They were sold out a couple of days ago, and they had 70 people walk in yesterday looking for bikes, and of course they didn't have them. So the island is packed, but we need to educate our visitors and guests about bike safety. So what we've done is we've come up with a document. It's a very simple form. We've dumbed it down to make it really simple with just the key facts, and on the other side, we're going to have a new map that we're creating with the town. So we hope this is going to get into the hands of tourists. Another difference about this project is we're going to go through the hospitality industry and the bike shops. We're going to use them as a distribution point. So we'll have a lot of people will be handing these things out, and I think they'll be very, very handy.
I think they're a great idea, and obviously visitors would love to have that map with showing the bike paths here on Hilton Head Island. So I would think it'd be natural that they'll grab those and hopefully look at the safety information you've got on the other side.
You bet.
Statistically, good news apparently as far as bike car crashes go here on the island.
Well, it's great news. With all the new pathways and all the tourists here who ride our bikes, as we said, there are about 1 million people who ride bikes on the island each year, and we have 20,000 bikes are available for rent, and any given week there may be 30, 35, 40,000 bikes on our pathways. So it's a lot of people, and some people just don't quite understand what to do, so they tend to do things that are a little goofy. And so what we did is we looked at 9 of the highest crash incident intersections, which is where most of the bike car crashes take place. Darren Shoemaker from the town, myself, and Kickin' Asphalt, and we identified a bunch of remedies. And we did this about 1.5 years ago when we were making the application for the Bike Friendly Communities program. And Darren and the town made about 40 or 45 mitigations to these areas. They moved signs, they cut shrubs, they painted, did a whole bunch of things that helped. Last month we again looked at these spots, made some more mitigations, and looked at the data. And knock on wood, our crash incidents are down 67% for the first 3 months compared to the prior 3 years, which is when data started being collected. So we're really, we're hopeful that this is a trend. We hope it's just not a blip, but we think all these mitigations have done a lot to cool the folks down and be a little more safety conscious.
Yeah, hopefully they'll be more mindful. Thanks to all the work that you've done, Frank Babel, along with others. I want to thank you for coming in on the Low Country Report. We'll look for you on your bicycle at the RBC Heritage next week. We appreciate your time.
It's always a pleasure, and everybody ride safely and be cool. There's a lot of people on our pathways. Thank you.
And that will do it for this edition of the Low Country Report. I'm Allie McNair. We will see you the next time.